I've been in the music industry for about 15 or more years, and there are a few things that I've come across that have made me wonder and probably never really understand musicians. So I'm going to share 5 of those things in this video. The very first thing, they do not use what they are trying to get on or achieve. For example, if you're a musician and you want to get onto radio or TV or onto PC games, you kind of have to use those things to understand what kind of music they are looking for. For example, if you are a hip-hop musician and you want to get onto radio, you have to listen to radio, find the relevant shows that play your type of hip-hop, and then you submit your music to those specific radio stations, and even better, contact the radio host. But there are most cases I've found that musicians don't even listen to radio. So when they come to me and say, I want to get my music onto radio, I tell them, what radio shows have you listened to that play your music? And they can't even give me 2. Now, that is an issue, and it is a waste of time for them to be submitting if they do not know where they're submitting to. As this is similar with PC games. If you want to get your music onto PC games, you have to listen or play PC games to understand what music they are using, and similarly onto TV, you have to listen for the music in the background to understand what music they are after, so you don't waste your time submitting to 100 music publishers in order to get your music on there. This applies to Spotify too. If you do not use Spotify, you will not understand how the playlisting works or how to go about getting your music or similar music on similar playlists. So this is something I think musicians should correct. Number 2, they have no presence at all. I'm talking social media or physical presence. Now, social media is something that is really important to market yourself as a musician and how your performances would be if they were to use you, if you, for example, want to be a live performer. But this is not strictly for live performing. If you are a good storyteller and you want less people to hear you, you probably should be going to live events and tell your story, or going to open mic events and using that for your social media. If you have no presence at all, social media or physical presence, then you have no excuse for no one knowing you because you are not making yourself relevant. There is no space for you to literally stick only to your bedroom and write and then post your music on the streaming platforms without creating some kind of presence on social media or physically. If you want to make CDs, you have to make a physical presence, or sell your merch, you have to have a physical presence, not necessarily, but you have to have some kind of presence, social media presence or physical presence. How do you go about doing either or? You have a content calendar and then you post accordingly. I'll leave a link in the description on a content calendar. And if you want a physical presence, I suggest starting off with a few open mics to see how you are on stage, and then you get better by attending open mic sessions. If there are no open mic sessions, then it's an opportunity for you to create your own open mic session, and then you can build a specific type of open mic that suits what you are after, and you would actually be in charge, which is always good if you own the platform you are creating. If you've made it this far, you're a musician I want to keep in contact with, and the best way I can do this is if you join my mailing list. My mailing list, I will send you a few freebies such as beats, contact information, and templates and tutorials on how to progress in the music industry. I will leave a link in the comments and in the descriptions below, but I would really like to keep in contact with you. But for now, back to the video. Number 3, they do not understand the basics of music publishing. Now, if you do not understand how the music industry works in terms of music publishing, then you will most likely not last in the music business. If you think about musicians and record labels generally last a lot longer than individual superstardom artists, because record labels understand the music publishing and they own most of the side on the music publishing side of things. This is music publishing and music sound recordings. They own the intellectual property on that side. That's why they last longer. If you do not understand music publishing, then I suggest you get my mini course, which is only 30 minutes and it costs only 100 Rand, and you will understand music publishing. I'll leave a link in the description below. Number 4, they do not understand how they are going to be making money. Now, in any business, there is a typical flow. You're going to put in money in to make something, and the something will make you the money. That money will be used to remake something. Let me give you an example. A baker. A baker will buy flour, yeast, eggs, whisks, etc. and then they'll process that to make muffins or cakes or bread, whatever bakers make. They will then sell that to customers, so they know everything in the process. Musicians tend to not really know how they're going to make this something, and then they'll make the song. That's the one thing every musician does. They're going to make music, but then how they're going to make money from that. There are multiple ways of making money from your music. You just have to understand exactly what you are trying to achieve as a musician. Now, as a musician, there are lots of revenues, so I'd suggest understanding how at least 3 of them work, and then focus on that. Once one of them starts to pop, then you actually feel confident as a musician. So understand how you are going to make money from anything you do with regards to the music industry. Number 5, probably the most controversial, they have no budget or no fundraising mechanism for their whole music mission. Now, I know times are generally tough and they most likely will get tougher, but there are multiple ways to get money for your music. For example, if you're someone with a vice, something that's not really necessarily important to your life but is really nice, then you probably can give that up and put that money into your music. Not totally, but reduce it. I'm talking things like going out a lot, eating out a lot, drinking, smoking, and all the other vices that are linked to basically having fun. You can reduce that, and that income can be used for your music. If you are someone who doesn't do all those vices, but you are eating out, then eating out, stop. Do it less and use that money to make more. If you have zero budget at all, you can't give up anything at all, then you have to do some kind of fundraising. Now, I'm sure everyone has gone to either a school or a church or a religious group, any religious organization, or any of the non-profit organizations. If you've never been to all 4 of those, then this might be a struggle, but I'm sure you've at least been to one of those. And they raise funds. Fundraising is something that is basically crucial to all organizations, and you as a musician have to fundraise. Now, there are so many ways to fundraise, so I'm going to leave that to you. Head over to Google and Google out fundraising for musicians or fundraising without a budget. There are multiple ways, and then you raise funds for your music. Even if you have no money, there are ways of creating value in order to fundraise, which will then bring back the money. But that is basically fundraising. It's important to know how to raise funds in general for your music and any other hustle. If you want to know how many streams you need to make 1,000 Rand, watch this video.